Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Sudarshan sir. I sincerely express my gratitude to Sri Venkateswara University for making me part of this wonderful workshop. I also thank all the speakers who spoke before me, have delivered wonderful talks, excellent information they have given. So please bear with me. Sometimes the most of this information is overlapping. This industry is small, so most of it goes in such a way. Okay. So what I'll be doing is putting this entire thing into an entrepreneur perspective. So I'm Sairam Reddy, co-founder of a startup in India, based in Hyderabad, called Urban Kisaan. I'm basically a trained plant molecular breeder. So most of my career I spent in that space, and then seeing the scope and then need, I switched myself to this area of urban farming. So let me put my perspective of it. Might be useful to a lot of the young aspiring entrepreneurs. Um, the biggest opportunity is a growing population, and this is a major area where the entire space of agriculture, agronomy should drive towards and then reach the needs. The other challenge is not just only the growing population, but also the reduction in the arable land. Put together is putting a lot of stress on agriculture to produce food for the growing population. Most of the times we see these two slides, but I would like to introduce another very interesting slide here from the perspective of entrepreneur. There's something called triple burden of malnutrition. Meaning, malnutrition, we mostly talk about we don't have sufficient food to satisfy the hunger. Yes, but if you see the statistics put down here, that accounts to about a billion people. Of course, I'm not saying it is less, but a billion people. But on the other side, if you see the two other burdens on malnutrition, is one is micronutrient deficiencies, the other one is overweight or obesity. These two put together is accounting to around $4 billion. That 4 billion people, 4 billion people are actually suffering. So I see from an entrepreneur perspective, so for me as an entrepreneur, this is much more interesting. The obesity and overweight is actually people who are eating the imbalanced food with no proper nutrition, or they might be consuming a lot of the toxins which are coming from either soil or from pesticides. Nutritional deficiency is also actually going from another angle. The food is there, but that they are not able to stretch their pockets to buy most of it what they're supposed to fill in the basket, so which meets the need of their nutritional value. These are the two things. So I see probably hydroponics is having enormous scope to fulfill these two things. So if you see what is happening in the West, the global trend, this is actually put in the EU, but it's the same across. Application of pesticides is going enormously, and the more and more of the produce which is available on the shelves are filled with these pesticides. So at the same time, in the other side, counter data also shows that availability of no pesticide or less pesticide residue produce is actually gradually decreasing. This is also another opportunity. There's a demand for organic, and though hydroponics is still not yet considered as organic label, but this meets the needs of this graph, what actually is demanding for. So, what is actually happening in the hydroponics space? Currently, it is globally, it's about 9.5 billion US dollars. And it is estimated to grow up to 17.9 billion US dollars at a CJR of 11.3. It's huge, humongous growth, actually, it is projected. But this, in fact, if you go through this report, so this is very less the projection, because a lot of problems, issues, in the technological issues and logistics issues and many other issues, which are actually bringing this market from growing. So those are all the scopes, opportunity for an entrepreneur to solve. So that may project this, the future business beyond this $18 billion. So there's a scope. That's where we're supposed to probably focus on. So the entire developed nations, the part of the world, is in fact adapted this hydroponics. Developing countries are slowly picking up, and there's many other countries where still they need to make a dent. UAE is going very big, in their initiatives to adapt this hydroponics technology. Currently, it's like mostly towards tomatoes, lettuces, peppers, cucumbers, very few crops. Majority of the crops are still not in under hydroponics in the major segment. This is also an opportunity. So I just thought, I'll put this diagram, how actually this entire scenario works and how we can see an opportunity for us. So all that starts with, anywhere you can start, in fact. There is no specific place where you can start. But I prefer to start with crops, identify the suitable crops, and accordingly, we need to build structures. And those structures should be filled with system designs. And, we need to identify the right location where you are going to deploy this unit. And then water, nutrients, and everything needs to be made available. Then you grow the crop. And once you have the crop, you also need to meet the, the market. You should take the produce and sell. These are major areas where, they end up like any other agriculture. So even hydroponics is part of it. If you see structure, if you start with polyhouses and vertical structures, this is a space. Polyhouses are being built, but most of these polyhouses, this technology which is being used in developing countries, are designed for the regular soil-based, the cropping, soil-based agronomy under polyhouse. But there is a difference if we want to deploy this hydroponics. So this is some people should get into it and develop suitable designs which really make this, the hydroponics agronomy successful. Then we are also talking about the setup cost. The setup cost is like, the NFTs, Dutch buckets, DWCs, aeroponic systems, IoTs, dosers, LEDs, and things like that. So currently that we see this hydroponics is a very expensive affair to start with, because the cost of all these things are humongously, like, the prohibitingly high to adopt some of the crops. That's the reason why currently only those the crops which are having high values, premium values are being grown in hydroponics. But I see the enormous scope to improve, to do a technological intervention here in this space itself, where the setup cost can be brought down several times so that hydroponics can come into the mainstream agronomy. Currently, if you see, hydroponics contribution is under 1% of crop production compared to soil or regular greenhouse production, whatever is there being adapted either in the developed nations or in the developing nations. So whatever we talk about, we wanted to meet the demands of the population growing and many other things. But unless this is successful, it's really not going to come into the space. I mean, the hydroponics will not get into the mainstream agronomy. And the location, land, and all. So this is also, I see with my experience, like the people who have money can build these units and lease it to the other guys, who are interested to deploy hydroponics. There is another space which is coming up. There's something like the franchising or called leasing. So we may not be interested. I have money, I have land, and I have the technology. I build the facility and give it to those who are interested to grow and take it to the market. And nutrition. This is, again, the very few players in the market. Because and also like very few crops which are being put in this area. So this is a space, in fact, because into these nutritional, these fertilizers, it comes under some sort of regulatory regime. There are challenges, but if anybody can get into it, customize these nutritional solutions and supply them to the large scale. Currently, what you see is that hobby kids and hobby, the nutrition supplies, you don't see it much here in the developing nations. It is there. This business exists so well, flourishing in the West. So they don't need to really worry about what they're supposed to do. If they say that I'm growing cucumber, so you have the nutrition solution and entire protocol, what you're supposed to follow, and just type with the company, so they will be able to supply. So such kind of solutions, if anybody can develop and then get into the market, is a huge area one can get in. Then marketing. So you see in countries like India, especially, I'm seeing that a lot of people are interested. They also know how to grow, but they don't know how to market. Because market is a different ballgame altogether. It's not for the people like me, who knows how to grow, but don't know how to sell. A kind of a scenario with most of the people. With so much of enthusiasm, many of them are getting into the space, building polyhouses and start growing. And when you fail to do the marketing, people start exploiting, and the whole economics don't work and get into troubles. So there can be players. Already a few of them as aggregators getting into the space. Like the Clover in Bangalore, things like that. And many of them are coming, so they can source this technology, deploy it in the farmers' fields, and then have a buyback kind of systems, and put it in the market with the right pricing, with the right places to the right customers, so that the entire economics will work better. This is another area. As an aggregator, there's a huge scope to get into entrepreneurship. And then the last one, the most least attended, appreciated area is the crop selection. If you see what is happening currently is like, except cucumber, bell peppers, cherry tomatoes, lettuces, which are actually bred for greenhouses in Netherlands and a few other countries, US and in the West, where they have been using this greenhouse cultivation for quite a long time. So the lines were actually bred for greenhouse. So those lines were almost easy to adapt to hydroponics. So that's how they're ready to use kind of crops available and ready to adapt crops so that you can get into the business quickly. So, but all that philosophy we have been talking about, the application of hydroponics to the mainstream agriculture, if it has to come to the reality, we also need to have the right genotypes which fits into the hydroponic systems. So if you take India, I'm sure it's the case with most of the developing nations. The entire breeding was done and selected for soil cultivation, open cultivation, not for greenhouses, not for hydroponics. I'm very sure that not even a single crop was bred and selected, temperate, tropical crops, bred and selected for hydroponics. So what we are trying to do is we're talking so high about the hydroponics technology, but we don't have the right taker, the genotype, which can utilize the entire capacity of nutritional supplies and then climate controls and everything, and give the maximum output. This is in another space. I know recently that Bayer tied up with a Singapore company and invested $30 million just to initiate breeding for this kind of area. So anybody can get into it and start breeding. And if you have your variety, it could be spinach, it could be tomato, it could be anything. It's a huge business you'll be able to do. And that is what is going to drive the entire cycle again. So you have a right genotype, and then the entire business will get going. So, so if all these spaces can be worked out and then solutions are provided, so the projection will definitely be proven wrong, and it will be much more bigger. So currently, what is happening? I just wanted to give a little glimpse of the entrepreneurs who have been playing a role in this area. So currently, is a very simple solutions are like home kits. There's so much scope even now, though there are a few players. So we have Urban Kisaan is having a home kit, and players like Future Farms and Pinterest, they are there much ahead of us, in this space. And there's still space for many to come and design your own unique models to suit for different scenarios of home needs, and then provide solution. And this is not a small market. Believe me when I say that it's not a small market. It's a huge market. So there is another upcoming space is called smart home kits. So these are actually built with the IoTs connected to internet, operate from anywhere. The small mini, use it like a showpiece, but still reap some benefit out of it. And mostly this works so good for hubs where you can keep it next to your kitchen and just harvest a few leaves in this as and when you need. It may not be a very useful thing like the pictures is shown here, like tomatoes, chilies, and all. People are putting it, but it's really not going to be of any benefit to the user except as a showpiece. But if you can use this for herbs like the mint or coriander, or for basil or things like that, so you need a little bit, and it grows faster and is a very fresh harvest, and consumers will enjoy this. This is something which is just coming up, and I'm sure this is also going to keep kick up so fast, and is an enormous role to play for young entrepreneurs in this area. The holistic solution. And there's the next level farming is like small, medium growers, family growers, enthusiasts, are some passionate people, are people with some social concerns, are getting into this area. They do a acre or two, or maybe it's lesser than acre size farms, and they're supplying this produce to their neighbors, friends, families, and nearby restaurants and things like that. So there are so many of such players, and very profitable. This is small and managed so tightly, so well, and this is working. So far, this is working very good. Whoever is doing with this kind of small, compact, but very properly oriented towards nearby, the consumers. This is one anybody can start if your colony is dense. So and you can supply it. There's another thing called smart farming. There's a company called Fright Farms in US. They came out with this concept. It's a beautiful concept. They convert these containers to farms, and they are connected to the internet, and they're fully automated, and they deliver this container anywhere in the world. This container is built in US and deliver anywhere. You just need to use a crane, put it wherever you want, and switch on, plug in. That's it. As simple as that. So what I understood is these containers are being used extensively in UAE and a few parts of Middle East, coming from US. And now more players are getting into it and leverage this technology, convert this waste containers into farms. And there is something called in-store farming. In-store farming. This is another beautiful concept. Other day I saw news. Our co-speaker Veggitech also trying to do something in Middle East. Similar kind of a setup. It's so good and it's so wonderful in-store farming. So there's a existing supermarket. You just build a store farm and then mount it there. That's it, and you keep the replacing your produce. So consumers will get the fresh produce, and there's no the crispiness is something very important in most of these lettuces and all when they have to make these salads. So that is retained. So again, it's like family, friends business, and can be used it like that. If you have a neighborhood supermarket, can encourage this, and it's a something you can tie up and do something in this area. And then monocultures, medium size, is like the maybe 2 acres, 3 acres, 5 acres, or 10 acres. They take up a single crop like bell peppers. Yes, the bell peppers, or cucumber, or cherry tomatoes. So mostly these farms are they target exports, B2B supplies. So this is good in a way because they don't need to worry too much about too many crops, too much technology deploying in. It's less complex and more focus can be done. But what happens is if you're unless you have a decent size of supplies, the buyers may not really come to you. So you should have a decent supplies so that you can have a tie-up with big buyers, export buyers, and things like that. This is also excellent opportunity. And this is a real corporate farming. Is a large-scale indoor farming and large-scale greenhouse farming. So very big companies are in this area. Companies like Plenty in US. Plenty in US is doing extremely good in terms of vertical farming. They use the zip grow towers and very high rise space they utilize, and they are one of the biggest players in USA. And also Bowery Farms is expanding expanding like anything, the indoor farming. This is possible only for big entrepreneurs and with huge investments. And the bottom one, if you see here, this is a Japanese approach. This is called Grandpa Dome. It's a very beautiful tech, and the man who is standing in the center. At that is the place where you keep the nursery plants because they need a small area. And when they are going there, they'll be pushed towards the periphery, and fully grown plants are harvested from the periphery. So the space is so well utilized. The small plants are there in the center, and bigger plants are there towards the periphery. So these are again large-scale greenhouse farming, like Netherlands, Spain. They have so well adapted this technology. But again, this is possible for extremely big players. So, and then coming to the other areas where we can participate, intervene, and do something is in the automation solutions. There are simple dosers, simple what you call the monitors, and also very high-end ultra technology solutions also available in this area. Like Hydro is giving IoT, and Blue Lab is another big player. Agritech is another major player in this space. Aravana is an Indian Mumbai-based supplier. They are also producing very nice automation systems, auto dosers. But still the cost is very high. And I strongly believe that this cost can be brought down drastically, because it's a simple electronics. There's nothing major in that. Sensors are also not so high. So this is a technology which several of the tech guys, whoever is there, can really have a look at it. It's very easy to engineer these things, come up with more creative solutions with a lesser cost. So some of these dosers cost anywhere from the 2.5 lakhs to 12 lakhs, like multi-dosers and all, right? So it's a prohibitingly high. So ideally, I believe that each doser should come at around 20,000 rupees. Then only it works so well for small players in this area. So this is a big space available for anybody to get in and then come up with a solution. And then grow lights is another area. If indoor farming has to be successful, that totally depends on the cost of grow lights. So now there are only two major players, Philips and Osram, providing the reliable solution in these grow lights. But the cost is extremely high. It's almost impossible for us to set up a farm, indoor farm, in the developing countries for our kind of needs and to meet our markets. I mean, our markets are not very high pay markets. So it won't work out. And there are many other players who are supplying these LED lights, much lesser than these Osram and Philips. But reliability is a big question. That is still a very big question to really put. So that's where, I would say that the space is open for many of you. Currently, it is about $1 billion market, and it is expected to go and double in next 5 years. So that's the kind of a scope it has. But anybody can get in. Still, space is available for people to get in and then provide a reliable lighting solution. Is also recipes, going to be different from different crops. So one need to really work out in this area and then provide that kind of customized solutions is a great scope. So I just wanted to give a small glimpse of what we do in our company at Urban Kisaan. So we have outlet stores, Urban Kisaan outlet stores in densely populated areas. Mostly they are in the first floors, accessible to the people. And we have, it's not in-store, but similar setup because it is our own store. So consumers walk in and harvest what they want, I mean, right there with their own hands. And attached to that, there'll be a small farm supplying the produce for that store needs, mostly leafy greens. This is the kind of model we rolled out, we tried, and we see it is working good. And now we are expanding this model. We have about 6 stores in Hyderabad, similar kind of stores. This is the back end farm, like where we grow all the leafy greens. And then, so as and when it is required, just across the wall, you just transfer them and then keep it available for customer to harvest. We also use the rooftops in the urban area, the empty rooftop spaces, and build polyhouses, and then grow other vegetables like cherry tomatoes, brinjal, chilies, zucchini, and many more. Many more we grow. Even gourds we grow in those areas. So we have not only the stores, but also have the online supplies. So we sell a lot of these things which we grow. And we also have a tie-up with one very close knitted farming community where we deploy the technology with them and we do the buyback from them. So we complete the cycle. So we help those who are interested to deploy this technology, and also we market their produce. So since the everything is available with us, we also felt that probably we can leverage some benefits out of the freshness what we grow in the stores. So then we came out with this concept called Farm Bowl by Urban Kisaan. So every store of ours will have a small counter where these the salads, which are recipes, are redesigned by us to meet the palate of Indian consumers, and then freshly prepared just from harvesting from the stands and then supplied. So this is what also we deployed, and this is very successful. It's a very big pull happening. And as we see, as I was also talking, since we wanted to get into these stores, farms, buildings, and all those things, the cost is a impediment. This is a huge roadblock for us to buy everything from outside. And so we started manufacturing some of these to make sure this, the setup costs will come down. So the most of that what we use in our setups are actually produced by us, including lights, NFTs, Dutch buckets, structures, and everything. So from my experience, what I see is there are some key challenges. These key challenges are the opportunity for entrepreneurs, the key challenges in taking this hydroponics to next level. One is the technology is still maturing, meaning a lot of crops are still not under this technology. This is a investment intensive. As I mentioned to you, a lot of competition should come into this space so that the cost of this material will come down and make the business viable. It's a still sensitive market, meaning people still ask questions about is it good? Is it artificial? Is it natural? Do we still have all the nutrition in it? So all the concerns and all those things, and needs to be addressed. A lot of awareness still needs to be built in this. So and then the non-availability of genotypes. So there's a scope for even breeding and then developing new genotypes, and then high expectations from consumers. So obviously, then you deploy tech and their expectations are high. So we generally see that expectations are high only in terms of quality. But we see that my experience is that their expectations are high even in terms of the price. Unless you bring the price competitive with what is available in the market, the business is not going to grow. So we need to meet the expectations of consumers, not only providing the quality, but also the price which satisfies them. So again, I just want to close with this. There's a huge money here in this area, and you can enjoy your hobby. You can contribute to the nature, and you can contribute to the society, but also contribute to your pocket. That's the kind of space available here. So I encourage you to really explore this space and then do something really good. So I thank you very much for everyone for listening to me. And you can check out our website, www.urbankisaan.com. And you can write to me in case, if anything, any help you need from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sairam Reddy, for giving new opportunities for our audience.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. And also, we are thankful for your nice presentation. And then new ideas. Now the audience will also get new ideas, so they may interact with you. I hope you will interact with them. And thank you once again.